Once we've determined our sample proportion, we need to calculate the margin of error in order to construct our confidence interval estimate. The difference between the sample proportion and the population proportion can be thought of as an error, and therefore our margin of error is the maximum likely difference with a probability of 1 minus alpha between the observed sample proportion, what we calculate from our sample, and the true value of the population proportion. So margin of error. It also has the name the maximum error of the estimate. You may hear that, the maximum error of the estimate. And the symbol or the letter we use for that is a capital E to represent the margin of error. So we need to know how to calculate that. So the formula for the margin of error is written as E equal to our critical value, Z alpha over 2. Now recall, where do we get that? Well, as the researcher, we decide what confidence level we want to use. Of course, as a student of statistics, we use the one that's given to us in the problem, 95%, 90%, 99%, whatever they give us. But that comes from our critical value, and we previously looked at the actual critical values you have for each one of those levels of confidence. That it's a standard for every time it's 90%, it's 1.645. Every time it's 95%, it's 1.96. We saw that previously. So we multiply our critical value times the square root of our p hat that we get. We calculate that through our sample, the sample proportion, times q hat, which is just 1 minus p hat. So once you have p hat, you have q hat, divided by n. And this is all under the square root. And of course, n is your sample size. So you would know your sample size from your sample. You'd have your confidence level, so you know what your critical values are. You've computed how many people, said that they read at least one print book per year or whatever. So you've got that proportion, that sample proportion. 1 minus that is your q hat. So let's write that over here. Z alpha over 2, that's our critical value. P hat is the sample proportion. Q hat is just equal to 1 minus p hat, and n is the sample size. So we calculate our margin of error, and we'll see how that's used in an example in a following video.